7 shit. Okay, we're live. I'm speaking to you. The music fades in. There was a brief stutter there because I was setting up Audacity to record, and then I was like, wait, it's just me. Why would I record that? So hello, everybody. Yes, thank you for saying you can hear me. How you doing? You should also hear a little bit of background music. I did do this trick again. So, hello, all the people out there. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Oops All Omega in the Let's Talk FGO update front. See, in the past years, Lucky's gotten some Lucky-only episodes of What's Up and stuff when I usually have to go away for family for the holidays, so I'm just catching up. But yes, everybody filter in, come to us. And let me go ahead and switch off the standby screen. If I can, hold on, my water bottle's fighting me. There we go. It's weird. All right, we'll do the scene tab. Chat is in the corner. Hello, everybody. Okay. That is a shame, Legendary, but I appreciate you being here at all, because, you know, it's a little bit of a light thing. Wow, okay, I tabbed away for, like, 5 seconds, and we jumped from, like, 8 to 16. Well, thank you guys for showing up. I hope that some of you were here for Hades or went back and watched that one. But, yes, I understand the Let's Talk FGO, you know, brings in a lot of people, which is why we're doing it. It's a little bit of a light news week, but I figured there was still some decent amount of stuff to talk about and get into some stuff. So to explain what we're doing here and stuff before I do my usual intros and everything. Basically, just last night, Lucky comes to me, he says, hey, sorry, it's sudden, but I need to take the weekend off. I just don't feel like recording and doing stuff right now. And I'm like, okay, sure, take as much time as you need, because if you will go back and check my history, I have absolutely said that sometimes and been like, I don't want to be on camera right now. I just don't want to. It happens sometimes, but I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase this best. There's no editing my awkward pauses out. That's going to be great. Normally, I would be all for skipping the show. Just be like, okay, we're taking a week off. We need to take a week off. But it is the end of the month, so there's a couple of things to, like, slip out of the way. I don't know if we're taking anything tomorrow either, actually. I legitimately don't know. He just said that he doesn't want to worry about streaming or recording and stuff, so I don't know. I don't know if his not wanting to deal with people extends to tabletop or not. We will ask that question tomorrow. But yeah, there's just some stuff to talk about, and I feel like it's a really good time to just recap some stuff, because I'm done with the event. The times anyway. I still got a few missions to get through after we're done with this, probably. But, you know, I just want to catch up on it. And this format works okay for shorter update stuff. Though I admit, I was a little concerned. I did not sleep so good myself last night. I had the hell of a sneezies and sniffles. And today my throat was kind of dry, so we'll see how much juice I got for everything. But the plan is basically run you through the show notes, cover the news and some other stuff. I will leave off mailbag because that is Lucky's bag. Haha. But you know, depending on how things goes, I will say that probably. Sorry. A little bit of a scratchy throat. I completely lost my train of thought. I was thinking about something else. The problem with solos, there's nobody to come and save you when you lose your train of thought. But anyway, we're going to run through the stuff. I got it back. Okay. It was mailbag. Mailbag is where I was. Next week, assuming Lucky is back and feels at full strength. Hopefully, there's a lot of stuff going on. But, ooh, feels bad, man. He'll probably just read last week's question with next week's, or will not make a new mailbag next week and keep it open. I don't know. That's on him to decide how he wants to handle it. It was his idea, his baby. I don't like to take credit or anything, so, Hal, he could, I don't know if he's watching or not. Like I said, he just says he just doesn't want to be on camera and stuff. If he shoots me a message right now, he could be like, read the mailbag anyway, and I'd do it, but I just leave that off to his decision, so we'll work on that. But I'll probably do what I usually do on these shows. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's just me alone. It happens. And just take some questions from chat, and because I sometimes feel for our lovely patrons, who I will intro later, I'll probably, do that thing where I'll take, priority questions from patron chat on the Discord, but just in general, we'll, bum around and you guys can give me your experiences on like, the event and some other stuff going on. And we will do Fan Servant Friday. I'm sure Lucky will be sad to have missed Mr. Pecos Bill, but it's a monthly thing. I don't like to delay it for the patrons. It was like Thursday when we were... Well, technically Wednesday night going into Thursday, but it was like, I could push off the poll thing for like a week or two to see how it goes because it's just a test. And Lucky was like, I don't know, a lot of people voted. You should probably do that. And I'm like, okay, we'll do it. All right, anyway, let's start doing normal show stuff. That was a long-ass ramble for me. Sorry. There's a couple of like 30 seconds there where I'm just like trying to get my brain to roll and it's not. So, hi, welcome to our Oops All Omega episode of Let's Talk FGO. I am Omega. Kana kara kara, everybody. I would like to remind you before we get into the thick of it, this episode is brought to you by our lovely patrons, which includes but is not limited to Adder Harp, Architect 10, Blacksto G, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Flightless Iceberg, Jeremy Vasquez, Just the Fae, John Sandoval, Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Sean Pryor, Some Guy Named Bob, Silent23, and Varian the Crow. Thank you very much for your support, patrons, and for everybody out there who supports us. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon or any of the other lovely ways you can support us that I am sure I will reiterate to y'all later down in the show. And like I said, I appreciate all possible support. And make sure that you show your support for Lucky, too, even when he's not here. I know sometimes he feels kind of bad when he's not here for the show and people get in there about that. So leave some comments after the fact being like, missed you, Lucky. Okay, that was the Patreon bump that it says at the top. Lucky writes and does our intro about the show. He didn't write a new one for this one, obviously, because he's taking the week off, so we skipped that part. Though I will want to say, again, about the spoiler thing, hey, I'm done with Little Big Tengu. We'll probably be talking about that with you guys. So if you haven't finished the event story, you should probably go do that while I'm catching up. All right, okay. That means we can roll straight from the intros and stuff. Let me close my tab. Patrons, and move on down through all the other businesses, including checking in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Mash.
Senpai, 起きてください.
God, Mash seems so loud. Hold on. Actually, no, that's still too high. Hold on. Okay, I want to scooch the music very slightly louder. Oh my god. Sorry, this is me muting the Discord server for a little bit. Just so I can focus on all the stuffs. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. We're just gonna take breaks. This can be very draining, like, being on camera and, like, putting yourself out there for people. I totally take breaks. Okay. All right. Though, I'm not gonna say it's related to the fact that this week he talked about getting bit by another spider on the face, because he seems remarkably blasé about that. But he did tell the story of, once again, getting a spider bit on his face. So, like, I hope that's also all right. would be really freaky for me. I feel like I would, if that happened once, I would, like, tear my whole room down and start over. But anyway. I don't want to say he's okay with it, but he puts up with it way better than I think I would. Anyway, all right. We're going down the line. That was the MASH intro. It's time for pro tips. It's been like 10 minutes somehow because I need this video to make ad rev. So we're going to talk about the pro tip. Wake the fuck up, Senpai. Regular segment for pro tips. This one is blatantly stolen from Tips for Playing FGO. Thank you, FGO website, for this, but I'm sure some of you don't check there very often, so this is a good thing to know. So some of you may have noticed, hopefully, and if you didn't, hey, here's another pro tip for you, double header. When you're looking at a mission, you can see a target marker on NPCs. If you don't know what NPCs in this are in your quest upcoming, they'll just be marked as question marks, but they'll be shown there. If you actually like click on that and check out the enemies, they are marked with a target marker. That target marker is color-coded. So if it says target and the color is blue, that's your weekly missions. If it's red, that means it's limited time master missions. And then if it's purple, that's event missions. So this should help you kind of like coordinate better when you're doing a mission-based event, like we are currently, to make sure you're getting all your stuff out there. You can see things will be clearly marked as targets, and they will be marked in a different color to let you know which one is which. Hey. It's pretty cool. All right. That means we can move straight on down to... Actually, hold on. Give me a sec. Let me actually personally pop out chat. And I'll say I'll pop out chat and put it over on my OBS monitor because the stream overlay only does top chat, not the live chat, so sometimes you guys say things and it gets lost. And it takes a second to update, so I prefer the sweet live action, but also I have to scroll through show notes to read and actually like speak like an intelligent human being who exists. Anyway, records from the throne, record achievement topic. Just me this week, obviously. Lucky didn't write anything down. Kiichi Hougen, Smile Protect, max level. Thank you, double XP. It's really easy. We're there already. That's also important for missions, so all of y'all should be doing that too. But, yeah, we got there. Man, I feel like I'm speedrunning these, but it is pretty light this week, actually. Sorry. Deep cleansing breath. Like I said, I feel like I'm rushing. We're gonna relax. Take it slow. Did you finish your master missions? No, not that slow. Anyway, as you can see them displayed here, to complete your master missions this week, you need to defeat 15 Knight class enemies. That's Sabers, Lancers, or Archers, and that's not servants or bosses. Defeat 15 Cavalry class enemies, so Assassins, Casters, Riders, Berserkers that are not servants or bosses. You need to get 50 of each currency drop in the event and put an assassin in your party 5 times. What does that spell, everybody in chat? I did do the, like, you know, roll the hand to my ear gesture. But also you guys are on, like, a 20 to 30 second latency lag, so it doesn't help. Yes, thank you. People in chat saying, do the event. Yes. Quite literally, you will almost assuredly do all of these if you are doing the event at all. All of these classes are in the event. You need to fight all of them to get progress. You need currency and will be getting currency. The only thing is you got to remember to put Kiichi Hougen in your party, which is also an event mission. So you're going to do it. Thank you so much for playing along, chat. All right. So, Skelograms. News is actually light this week, but in that sense, I think that, as always, the news invites discussion. So, it has been firmly and formally announced, Nahoya Miklan, Lost Belt 7 Part 2 will release on the 31st of January. It will be literally the last month. Last of the month. It will be late January. And now, funnily enough, to commiserate this, there will be a stream, but that stream will be pre-recorded. The guests will be Ayako Kawasumi, Cheki Kobayashi, that's the voice of Bart, and Minami Tanaka, voice of Nidocris. So there's a lot of jamming and jiving in the community, on our Discord, stuff like that, going out there, doing things. And it's real interesting. Now, this is one of those things I want to throw out there. I've been thinking about this one a lot over the week, over the time scan. Because, you know, some people are like, wow, this is just really just, like, basically an entire dead month. And yeah, that's true. You know, dead weeks are called dead weeks for a reason, because people aren't playing them. I saw some people on the internet being like, oh, well, you know, it's just, you can do other stuff. And it's like, yeah, people aren't going to do other stuff. Like, obviously, Losengle has access to the back end. They know where people are at with the story. I'm going to assume that even among active accounts, there are probably, you know, newer players who are catching up, people who are a little behind, they've been busy lately. They might know that people aren't necessarily all caught up to the event itself, but nothing but story catch-up events is, like, it's real low effort, real low energy, and the problem is, and I don't want to say anybody, before I say this, let me clarify. I don't want to say to anybody that you have to cater to your hardcore fan base. Your hardcore, intense fan base are usually, like, the most rowdy and asshole-ish, except for you guys. You guys are great. Core fan base, thumbs up. But at the same time, doing nothing but story catch-up does alienate your most hardcore fan base, the people who play every story update right when it comes and are done in, like, 2 days. Those guys have nothing to do, and they have no reason to log into your game, and obviously they are one of the people who are most invested in your game, so they are probably the kinds of players, customers you want to at least, you know, lean into a little. Especially considering that returning masters and new masters got bonus campaigns over New Year's specifically for them, whereas basically if you caught up on FGO right away when LOSTBELT 7 dropped on Christmas, if you blew that out of the water right away, after some New Year's banners and some limited time master missions, you don't really have anything to do. And yes, there's a Nidacris banner, and yes, that you know, shot the game up, but maxing out a servant these days, other than, like, going for grails and 120 shit, right? But maxing out a servant isn't really that hard these days. You get a lot of 5-star EXPs. If you're really hurting for mats, you can, you know, use pure prisms, or honestly, farming a single servant's mats probably aren't that hard. I believe there's at least 1 CE for every bronze mat in the game, so you can, like, tweak the drop rates and shit like that. Like, depending on how you're playing, if there's not new servants coming out, there's also nothing for you to, like, do with your free time if you're really hardcore. Like, there's no new units to level and shit. I also believe because Nidacris Alter is a permanent unit, I should say, most of her mat releases aren't too crazy. Never mind the discussion we're not going to have about the fact that, like, is Nidacris Alter a spoiler? There's a lot of comments last week on that and stuff. I think the general vibe is, in a vacuum, she's not a spoiler for the most part, and I don't know about some of her later Ascension stuff, or, like, stuff you can unlock if you have the LOSTBELT cleared. But contextually, the best way to put it is contextually, if you already read the Part 1 of LOSTBELT 7, then you're like, okay, this is a spoiler. If you have literally no idea what's happening, it's not a spoiler, but if you put your foot in, you know that that's like, wait, that's clearly going to come up later. And we won't get any more of that, and I will warn you, chat, about actually putting spoilers in the live chat. Please don't do that. You will make me take away the chat. Well, take away your chat, specifically. Put you in the timeout box. But yeah, that's a whole different discussion that we don't need to get into again. I think we covered that one pretty thoroughly last week and through the comments. Nope, we're live. We're just running through the show notes. You can scroll back in the VOD if you want to know what's up. Where the hecker was I? Yeah, just overall general vibes, though, with Dead Weeks, right? Dead Weeks don't feel very good, and I asked questions about this. I know a lot of people were frustrated with this. Like, overall, I don't think that a dead-ish month, because there was, you know, a New Year's event, which would have had, you know, limited time master missions and stuff to grab onto and work through. You know, shit like that. That's fine. But it is a pretty dead month, and FGO has had some dead weeks and dead months before. They're usually pretty dull for the player base. I I think the thing to keep in mind is a majority of us here are NA players primarily. I know there are a few of you that have alt accounts or double up. There's a very limited number of people in the fan base who are just JP players. I appreciate if you're still here, like, hanging out in our Discords and our live streams and watching the show. I know we cover JP news, but that's usually kind of like a clairvoyance thing. But, like, if you're playing NA, this will not be as bad in 2 years. There's been a lot of discussion, you know, sometimes getting in there and, like, asking questions like, oh, do you think they'll actually, like, drop Lost Belt 6 all at once? I've said this before. Personally, no, I don't think so. I think there are, especially with Pity and stuff like that, there's too many banners to run through. There's too many, like, pre-release campaigns and shit. That said, I do think it will not only happen earlier, but it will happen tighter than it did in JP. We will not get to the third part before Anniversary. We just won't, because that would be the other thing. They've said that they won't use the fact that the Anniversary is sped up. Like, that they said that by the fact that our anniversary is a month earlier. Sorry, working on my phrasing. We're off script. You can see it's not on the notes. But with the fact that our anniversary is a month earlier in NA, they've said that they won't cut out Lucky Bag servants anymore, like what happened when they pushed up the very first Lucky Bag summon to Thanksgiving, and that meant that Jack and Mordred were cut. So I believe that also means the reverse won't happen. Servants who aren't in the Lucky Bag can't come out before the anniversary to then have to be backported in the Lucky Bag. So Oberon, he can't come out before anniversary at NA. It just will not happen. That would mean they would have to do something with the Lucky Bag. So there's definitely, I think, like, there's a limit on how much they can speed stuff up. But, like, honestly, for us in NA, in, like, with 2 years of foresight for them to figure out what the thing to do, well, yeah, I'm going to say, somebody in chat, Phoenix, is talking about how we've also got, like, a February live stream schedule. Is that in our news desk somewhere? Let me double check, because I don't actually have that in my skelograms. Our next show would be the 3rd, so that stream may or may not have happened by the time we get in there. Oh my god, you gremlins. And by you gremlins, I mean specifically just Despair. Despair is a gremlin. He is posting in art channels, and that's all he does, and it's giving me notifications when I'm trying to, like, clear out my notes. Okay. Yeah, it's the Lost Belt 7 Part 2. Yeah, I don't see it on our news desk, so if anybody's got, like, an article or something, be sure to link it around. Linkify it to me. But I do believe, yeah, there's some rumblings and some bumblings about the fact that, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so you're saying, yeah, January. Yeah, so that sounds to me like talking about how it'll be better in NA, this almost assuredly feels like this was a scheduling fuck-up at Los Angeles. I don't want to speculate or anything, but there's a lot of weirdness about how long this is taking. And the fact that this stream that is tied into this is pre-recorded, it makes me think that they probably, like, had Ayako Kawasumi and Tanaka Minami, like, booked for a day, and then they were like, oh, fuck, the event, the new Lost Belt drop isn't going to happen on that day for whatever reason. There's a lot of speculation going around. I don't like naked speculation if we don't have, like, insider sources and shit. There's a lot of things it could be. It could just be anything from, like, they've, added more people to the team size, so they're trying to, like, integrate everybody into the workflow. It could be, shit like some of the people technically at Aniplex management are busy with something else. We're going to talk about Mahoya later, which did finally hit physical, but some of it is delayed, shit like that. It could be related to the fact that Aniplex, which is Los Angeles' parent company, has had some kind of COVID outbreak because there have been several anime projects that Aniplex studios are heading up that have been delayed. So there could have been like an office outbreak and some people have to like quarantine at home or whatever, and it disrupts your workflow. And literally, it could be as much as just, yeah, they lost like 2 days of work. They couldn't work on the thing, and that was just enough to not have it ready in time, you know, with whatever's going on. As evidenced by the fact that they had a Nitocris altar dropped and put her as a permanent unit, I'm sure that that has been, like, something they've been working on and working towards, right? So, like, they have stuff in the hopper, but it does definitely seem like there was an unplanned delay, probably by about a week or so, maybe only, like, 4 or 5 days, and that's why you're getting a pre-recorded stream, and then we've got a Valentine's stream, like, less than a week after. I do not think that Valentine's, by the way, will be dropping. That's literally not even a week. I don't know if FGO does them that sudden. But they're probably going to have, like, hey, here's the full announcement, and by the way, it'll happen in, like, 3 days. It'll probably be longer than their marketing and press team likes to have, but they'll schedule it out. And I can expect that in NA, you will not see that problem. There will not, like, all the code will be written, all the assets will be made, everything will be queued up in the JP server. It'll just be an issue of, you know, switching it over and firing it all into our servers. So I suspect that you will probably not see the delay on Lost Belt 7 Part 2 in NA as long as it has been in Part 1. And ultimately, I know some people are, like, really doom and gloom about it because there are people who, I don't know if they play FGO ironically or they feel like they have, like, some kind of, like, codependent relationship, but there have always been people who are really big doomers about FGO. Some of it, I think, is just for the outrage clicks, for the outrage economy. That's something not that we don't really do. I mean, obviously, the title of this stream is, what is it exactly? When will Lost Belt 7 finally drop? You know, it's supposed to be a little provocative, but I've answered the question already. Like, it's right here. We've got to it. You guys could leave right now. Well, you guys won't leave because it's live, so you want to see what happens. If I, like, you know, lose my mind on stream alone or something, or to, you know, get your sweet parasocial juice. All right, hold on. Now I have to juggle tabs again. This is the thing. When there's only one of... I prefer duos, because that means that I can be like, Vamp! Lucky Vamp! And Lucky can be like, Omega Vamp! Talking about vampires. We're talking about vamping it up for the camera. Buy some time. But yeah, like, some people are, like, really super doom and gloom about it. As evidenced by the fact that, as usual, all it takes is a single new fucking servant for them to shoot right back to the top of the revenue charts in Japan. FGO's gonna be fine. This is just, like, a little annoying and frustrating, and, you know, to people who are playing JP, the announcement that it will be the 31st is, I'm sure, super disheartening, because they're like, shit, well, I still have nothing to do. I'm all caught up on story, you know, if you're caught up on story. But for NA, it will be better, and I think that FGO JP will be fine long-term. This is just kind of a rough patch that hopefully they can work out. And, like you said, you want to talk about dead months? That was, like, in our equivalent last year in NA, that was JP. That was primo COVID time. Like, that was when there were big, long gaps. Events were straight up being delayed. Like, that is when, you know, this, you know, block of, like, anniversary to anniversary there, and even a little bit before, was full of shit like them telling us, like, hey, this event, it's not gonna be ready yet. I believe it was our... Actually, shoot, what is this year's upcoming? One of the Golden Weeks, was it 1 year? Is it the one that's upcoming from NA or the next one? One of them was straight up delayed. They were like, hey, we know we normally do these collabs at Golden Week. We're not going to be ready. Sorry. We got to push it back. We're catching up. It was Learning with Manga one. I don't remember when that one was. I think that's still, like, over a year away for us. Oh, yeah, Requiem was also pushed. Yeah. So that was the one that we just had. They've had a couple cases where they're like, hey, I know that this is supposed to be on Golden Week, but we can't. Like, so they have these issues, right? And Did you notice that playing NA this year? Probably not. They found stuff to do to, like, space it out for us or, you know, tighten up some banners, add some extra banners. That does mean they still had to do some fucking weird stuff. Like, we got a bonus Halloween, like, you know, celebration because there was no Halloween event. They did actually do the Nightingale rerun beforehand. And some of that stuff was a little fucky. Like, at the end of this past year, they swapped it around to give us Heian-kyo earlier, and, you know, get it to us better and do all those banners and stuff. And that was full of great shit because that included, you know, stuff like Pity and whatnot. But it did also mean that the million downloads campaign got delayed, which means that in NA, if you were caught up on story right away, you had some limitations on some leyline stones that would have been, you know, fun and helpful in the Heian-kyo, which didn't exist. So, like, I'm not saying it's perfect, but generally the content lulls are a lot more minimal and a lot less obvious, and they usually are only, like, a dead week, where they'll run, like, a, like, login campaign, but there's nothing else extra for you to do, which I do think that those are still okay. I know that most of us, like, just don't play the game when the weeks are dead or during reruns and shit, but they exist for somebody. Somebody who's catching up might play them. Somebody who hasn't done the rerun might play them. I, you know, try to put a little effort into some of the reruns that didn't bless me with an extra CE to at least, you know, get that MLB copy, shit like that. Honestly, the prior year wasn't that light on content. I know some people were talking in our Discord about how Road to 7 sometimes felt paced a little weird. That may be true, you know, because with different banners and different stuff to try and, you know, get all of it out there before LOSTBELT 7 came out. But in general, there was at least, you know, a little bit of stuff. There were some, you know, remembrance quests. There were some new rank ups for people. There were new banners and shit like that, you know. I'm kind of shocked they didn't find a way to work in a Little Big Tengu rerun in JP, and they might still be planning that. If they were delayed on implementing LOSTBELT 7, I would say absolutely focus on making sure that's ready to go before you do a rerun. But, again, I don't want to speculate too much. It just feels like there was a little bit of falling through the cracks there, and I hope that they can tighten it up. FGO's still good, and there's no need to be doom and gloom about it. There's also no reason to be doom and gloom about our next thing. Thank you, by the way, chat, for engaging me in that discussion. I've had a lot of thoughts and feelings in our Discord about people kind of complaining back and forth. You know, I mean, if you can grind outdoors and you want to do it, you can do that. The other thing that's not doom and gloom is NA has announced Craft Essence Recollection Campaign 2023. Oh, when will our Valentine's drop? When does... Let me double check when. It's about a week, but... Let me type my correct website. You see a phantom cursor right now because I'm clicking in a different window. Let me check, when does Little Big Tengu end? The 2nd? Yeah. I believe we're supposed to get the Grailfront first. Toronto King just brought this up in the chat. So that's like, I think, like a week. It's not very long. It should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, so it'll be the Grailfront, and then it'll be the week like after that. It'll actually be closer to Valentine's. So yeah, the 10th is a good one. Let me see. Let me check my calendar. Days of the week and stuff. So February. Yeah, the 10th is a Friday. I could see a Friday launch, and that'll put it through the last couple weeks in February. So 10th or 11th-ish is probably a good day. We'll see exactly how it shakes out, but yeah. Shouldn't be too long. And yes, we do have another Grailfront coming up after this. So that'll be fun. But yes, the Craft Essence Recollection campaign has come out. It's starting the 26th. It is going until the 9th. That also does mean that means that it's a good day for them to, you know, do server work on the 10th or 9th. So there's a commemorative quest for Fate Grand Order Memories 3 CE, which is based on the cover of the 3rd CE collection. I don't think that's available right now. I've got collection. I own collection 1 that they imported. I don't remember when they were selling 2. I don't have that one. I should track that down if I can. I don't know if there was ever like an Aniplex store or anything on that. No idea about 3 either over here. But they released the CE for it. If you missed the quest for Fate Grinded Our Memories 2, that's in the Prism shop now. There's also a summon banner. There is a total number of 66 limited time CEs on a rotation. There's, all huge blocks of, like, what will be available what days, what will be rated up, Yes, but how did you get the CE books, Legendary? Did you import them from Japan? Because that's, a thing, but buying big art books is already a little expensive. Just let the music play out. Ooh, Tree Rave. By the way, I have a YouTube video of Best of FGO OST in the background. Oh, were they on the shop page? I don't remember. 3 would have been weak. Well, would 3 have been a spoiler? I guess not, but also then why wouldn't they have done the... Well, anyway. That's a different schedule speculation thing that I should not go into while we're live. I can troubleshoot this later. That's interesting. I should look at them. Not that I have gosh darn shelf space. And we've been talking about moving again a little bit. Chat, my father is fairly insistent on retiring at the end of this year. 2 and 3 were dumped at the same time. That is weird. Okay. That's probably why I don't remember 3 at all, because they probably announced 2, and I was like, oh, well, missed it. And just didn't even think about 3. But my father is planning on retiring at the end of this year, which will possibly mean another move somewhere else to wherever the fuck my parents want to, be settled in for hopefully a while. And, I got to work on me being able to live on my own, because housing is expensive. So I would love if you guys, showed your friends, maybe not this video, maybe not this part where I'm talking about, being too poor to move out for my parents, but like other videos you think are cool, you can show them that so we can get, lots of views and identity and stuff. So we can get out there. Well, yeah, you say congrats to him. My father has an incredible work ethic. Sometimes I think he's a lunatic. I don't know what he's going to do when he's retired. Other than play Minecraft. Man loves Minecraft. But anyway, yes, so probably got a lot of thinking stuff to do about the year and so on. But I don't need to tell you about that yet. We'll save that for the, sob story when I need to couch surf. But yes, as there is a note put here in my show notes right here, I can highlight it for you. While there is a rotation of CEs on this, there is no rate up servant on the CE banner. Our little webhook that gets us, like, FGO News to put in news desk said, no servant rate up, don't roll. I mean, I won't say don't roll. If you're hunting for a weird limited time CE that you can't get anymore, some of those are really good. Like, you got to decide what you want to do with your Saint Courts and your money, right? But it's not great if you're hunting for servants. It may not be the best use of your Saint Courts. Just saying. Robin, you do time codes. I know you can read. Wait, no. I guess technically that doesn't necessarily. I know you can hear me speak and you can transcribe it into a time-related format. I just said there's no rate up servant. But yeah, no, that's that one. Personally, I think this is cool. I just, as I literally just said, there's a lot of really good old CEs, and the CE selection thing is always like really awkward when I do one-eds where I'm like, yeah, so put your Golden Sumo here, or your Halloween Princess, or like, Royal Icing, 3 Anglers, whatever, and I'm like, some of those are limited CEs, or those are not evergreen. Do people have those? Do people know what those are? Like, I get worried sometimes, and often suggest weird, outlandish alternatives. So, you gotta look at the pool. It does have a rotation on what CEs are on rate up, so you can, feel free to scoop that one out and see how it goes. And check all that out. I think that's everything in our normal Scalegram news, other than as Rano brought up earlier that, and several other people actually, but the third or 4th, there is actually a stream to set up Valentine's. So next week we'll have even more news this the 5th. Isn't that cool? Yeah, the pools can get pretty big. That's a little sad. So let's see, how long have we been going? It's a decent chunk of time. I faffed a lot and lost my train of thought. 40 minutes? Okay. I'm going to take a break and refill my bottle of water. I talked earlier about how I was a little dry-throated, a little sucked up today. So I'm going to go refill my bottle of water real quick, and I'll come back to you, and then we'll do our free talk type area. So observe the standby screen and listen to the tunes. I'll be right back. Click them. You know, if I was smart, I probably would have inserted an ad there. But I really just needed a bottle of water. Glug glug. Oh, okay. I was a little confused for a sec. The music was like, where's my music? Came back into the lull between the two tracks. Okay. All right. Let's tab them back. My chat pool pulled up. Okay. Time for free talk. As I readjust my scarf. So, number one, we like to put, like, anime and other etc. news here. And, you know, if you guys get anything else, feel free to let me know in the chat. First of all, Mahoyo hit street date for its physical release. I believe the Switch copies physically are in the wild. The PS4 type copies are not. They are still shipping and stuff. I haven't gotten my shipping notification on that yet at all because those are delayed, so that will probably not be until several weeks in February, so, you know, woe is me and all that. But, you know, it's coming. But, yeah, it's out there, so people can enjoy their physical copies with all the stuff. It's very similar to the Japanese release. I think they redid some of the graphics and stuff from what I've seen on the board, not in the game. Obviously, it's been available digitally for over a month now, but this is the physical release, which is technically the special with some extra stuff in there. And that's cool. We'll let you know more when both Lucky and myself have our physical copies, because we went for PS4, and we don't got them yet then. I also haven't gotten a shipping notification on my copy of the Dead Space remake yet. Thanks, Amazon. That's not supposed to come to me until, like, Monday or Tuesday. Hopefully not too bad there. Gives me the agita. The first game of this year, arguably even late last year, that I'm like, yeah, it's coming out, it's good. Actually, no. Crisis Core I pre-ordered as well. So that was solid, but, like, Callisto Protocol was disappointing. It sounds like Forspoken's kind of disappointing as well. And at the very least, Forspoken can be defeated very quickly, which, you know, puts a damper on me wanting to pay $70 for it. So, yeah. I want that Dead Space remake. supposed to be good. It does remind me, though, I need to catch up on Judge Run. It's been like a week since I played. I need to just go ahead and wrap that game out. Get that stuff done. I put it on my poll for the thing, but you guys didn't pick it. Anyway. Mario physical release, thumbs up. It's out. So, let's talk about little Big Tengu. The event is not over, but all of the time gates are cleared. You can get the whole story. You can get your permanent Kiichi Hougen. I should actually technically have put that in achievements. It's usually what we do there, but we're going to talk about the fact that I'm done with all the event anyway. So, yes, I do have my permanent Kiichi Hougen and my Grail. Yay. Got to get through some missions, though. I think I left off on mission 69. I don't mind being OP. And the main thing for me is that, like, I think it was the IGN review was like, yeah, when I put my head down, I cleared the main quest in, like, 15 hours, and I'm like, oh. I like the gameplay. But, I don't know. I don't know about the full price point. We'll see how that shakes out. Anyway. Little Big Tengu. Done with all that stuff. Got 69 missions left. Yeah, nice. So let's talk about the story and stuff, and if you're not done with the event, plug your ears. Come back in, like, 20 minutes. Overall, I like this one. It does that thing that FGO often does, but it balances serious and funny very well. Ow. That's me smashing my nose into my pop filter. But, like, I mean, it starts and it ends. There's a dovetail with it. You know, it wraps around. Actually, not even really a dovetail. It's more of a circle, you know. It's a callback. Like, you know, comedically enough in the library with Fergus and Caesar just being dudes, and then you cut back to the end, and they're just still there laying on the floor, and they're just like, well, you know, Lady Murasaki runs this library. If she sees us just lying here, she's going to be like, oh my gosh, what happened to you? And won't that be great? And then they get beat up for it again. Very funny. You know, lots of other little moments. There's a lot of characterization stuff with Kiichi Hougen that is very good. She, you know, kind of pivots back and forth between actually being, like, very serious and meaningful and being, you know, there's the whole flashback and stuff and being like, hey, Shana, you should just be a kid, okay? Don't worry about this heavy shit. You should, you know, play ball and shit. By the way, shout out to once again FGO teasing us with the fact that they're like, oh yeah, you were friends with you know, Benkei and Lady Shizuka, and I'm like, don't you just you can't lay that one on me. You gotta give me more than that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my wanted about Kagekiyo. There's some. The reason why I think that the Kagekiyo Yoshitsune mashup and the putting the two of them in this event works very well, and it's even brought up in this, is there's a lot of mythologizing and legendizing about Yoshitsune and about Kagekiyo, so it kind of works together. But that means that there's a lot of the weird stories that FGO just refuses to acknowledge because they decided to do a gender flip 7 years ago or whatever, and it's like, but guys, there's some stuff there that I really need you to acknowledge. Explain to me what the hell is going on here. Anyway, we can talk about that in a later moment. But yeah, so, like, yes, you just brought that up, X. Yes, I believe the name Kiichi Hougen is I'm gonna say a fairly obscure outside of Japan figure of an actual Onmyodo from that time period. And they may actually have been listed as one of you know, Ushi or Shana-O's mentors at some time. I couldn't really dig up a lot in some quick Google searching. I didn't do a wanted video, so I didn't try to dive very deep into, like, other weird sources or find art links and stuff. But then we actually conflated, like, Kiichi Hougen with the Kurama Tengu, like, the Sojobo, you know, the leader of the Tengu, and, you know, great Buddhist figure, shit like that. So that kind of explains, you know, like, how they are the way they are and all that stuff. And I think it works to, like, tie up, you know, the fact that Summer Ushi very clearly talks about, you know, the legends with Shauna Owen and the other stuff like that. And those other elements. Well, what gave me the idea to use Ushi is that, like I said, there's a shitload of mythologization about Yoshitsune and about Yoshitsune as Ushiwakamaru as their childhood self. The wandering tales of Shauna Owen, shit like that. Like the Genpei War is very, very interesting and very, very impactful historically because it like starts the Kamakura Shogunate and like this whole big period and stuff. But also mythologically, it left a really long-lasting impression because there are a lot of stories out of it. And Yoshitsune's story is because of the fact that Yoritomo just did a shutout on Yoshitsune in real life and did end up getting people to turn on Yoshitsune and force him to commit seppuku and stuff. Like, there's a lot of tragedy in there, and from actual like historical texts. There is a famous letter that is attributed to Yoshitsune. Is it called, like, the Crimson Moon Letter? The Letter of Crimson Tears? Something like that. It's just really flowery and sad about how, like, hey, bro, I just want to be let back into Kamakura. Like, everything I've done is so that, you could succeed and our family could succeed, and I just want to, be in the family. I don't, that kind of shit. Which, obviously, plays very strongly into how FGO treats Ushiwaka and Yoshitsune as a character and talks about those historical events and some stuff that I'm going to swing back around to. But there's a lot of, like, romanticization about Yoshitsune's whole life, which gave them the idea to, like, use the Ushi version and go from there. Even though, technically, with, like, the 8-boat leap, that's obviously, like, one of Yoshitsune's most famous anecdotes and battle victories at the end of the Genpei War. So it's a little weird. It's always been a little weird and timey-wimey. Anyway, Kiichi is a fusion of a couple of different figures. They're trying to bring back that thing that they talked about, how with Summer Ushi, she was trained by a Tengu in the woods playing, children's games and other nonsense like that. And they have to kind of also explain that with, like, some of the other legends about, stealing the 6 strategies and some other stuff that comes from some fictional anecdotes and so on and so forth. So I think we do a good play around there. I mean, I think there is something that's not really remarked upon, but makes a lot of sense. And it feels a little bit sad that basically at the end when Kiichi is having that flashback about how Shauna O... Yes, Axe, I know. You have a single issue, Wank. We'll come back to that. But Kiichi, like, in the flashback... basically, like, has Ushi, like, play with her daughter? The daughter who, comes back in the earlier flashbacks to give the strategy. So, like, that kind of turns it on its head to be like, yeah, that means they were, like, childhood friends and, we're training and playing together and stuff. And, like, obviously that's why she would have given Ushi the secrets, but also it's, like, there's a lot of sadness. This whole story is a tragedy. So it's kind of like that. And that's part of why Kiichi Hougen decides to stick around. Like, one, she wants to make sure that as her heroic spirit self, Ushi, it doesn't fuck up anymore and do all that bad stuff. But also, like, realizes that, like, even though it was absolutely, like, kind of petty and goofy and really over the top, like, she has taken you as a student, so it's like she wants to look out for you too, because you got a lot of bullshit. And I say, like, it's really over the top because, like, Kiichi is, like, as a non-human, Kiichi does some stuff that's, like, very exaggerated and over the top and not, like, how people would act, but they're like, oh, I'm already thinking of adopting or marrying them. Fuck you. Like, that's like, what? She takes it to the funny extreme. Also, I want to throw that out there. There's actually an interesting thing. So, yeah, the FGO phrases Kagekiyo in a little bit of a weird way, putting into question, was there actually a Taira no Kagekiyo? Because, obviously, as they are, Kagekiyo was really blown up by later myths and legends and lots of pop culture. Got really big in, like, kabuki plays and other forms of classical theater because there were just some anecdotes about Kagekiyo being kind of a weird a really strong fighter and kind of like just a weird bad boy dude who had some like bad reputation, you know, a real anti-hero type, and like blew him out of proportion, even though, according to historical records that we verified, he, like a lot of other Taira, was captured at the end of Dan no Ura and lived as a political hostage for like 9 more years. Kagekiyo outlived Yoshitsune in real life history, at least according to all the accounts we have. So there was actually, you know, Taira no Kagekiyo, and he was a guy. I don't know if he ripped a guy's collar off. But like a lot of stuff, same with I talked about this in the Muramasa Wanted, like fiction and kabuki and stuff got in really later and like really blew it up. And that's kind of the result where we get with Kagekiyo, where FGO treats Kagekiyo as a concept, as like a conceptual weapon against the Genji. So there is probably a Taira no Kagekiyo who existed. There is the historical person who has that name, and in so many different, like, it was really hard to dig down in there, but there were so many like little encyclopedia entries, like I was digging up, you know, reference documents on Google and finding it on like Japanese Wikipedia that doesn't really go anywhere. But like, I saw so many footnotes that were like, Taira no Kagekiyo tried unsuccessfully to have Yoritomo assassinated. I'm like, when and where? How? It's just attributed somewhere, and it's one of those things that like I would probably need I would need a actual like resource library, or I would need to like get into actual Japanese original text that I can't fucking read to figure out. But I'm like, I keep seeing this referenced everywhere. Well, you got to remember, Axe, Kagekiyo isn't one person. Kagekiyo is the angry ghosts of every dead Taira. Which is, one, not that weird for Kagekiyo. I talked about this on last week's show. There's a fucking old Bandai Namco game. I think it was just Namco at the time. But Genpei Tomoden, where you play, Demon Ghost Kagekiyo and kill Yoritomo as the last boss. In general, Kagekiyo is very Japanese ghost story. There's a lot of grudges and a lot of stuff like that. Things going on. But, they said we are Taira. Like, Kagekiyo is a manifestation of all of the grudges and hatred and unresolved resentment towards the Genji and towards Yoritomo that the Taira have. And whenever anybody in their heart is like, man, fuck the Genji, that's when you open your heart to Kagekiyo, and Kagekiyo is like, all right, let's go. Let's kill Yoritomo. You are Kagekiyo now. It could be a little like, Legends of like the Phantom or Dread Pirate Robert situation. I'm going to be honest, FGO phrases it very ambiguously. And because it's like, all of the Genji back then died, but also I'm fairly certain there are descendants of the Genji clan who are still alive in Japan. I don't know how like politically strong there are, but like, I talked about this with Muramasa. There are living members who are descendants of the Tokugawa family and the Tokugawa clan who still have clan artifacts. I am sure there are some live-ass Genji rolling around somewhere in Japan. And if you're like, but that's really irrational. Yes, Kagekiyo is an Avenger. They are a fucking angry ghost. This is not meant to be a, rational story of revenge. This is a fucking ghost story. And the fact that the story itself, like, turns out to be so ambiguous and weird and not clearly explained, I think fits the tone. Obviously, for those of us who are trying to, like, figure out lore and relate characters and, like, figure out how to feel about them and stuff, and how, different stories relate to each other. Great moment, by the way, when you run into Avenger Nobu and, like, Kiichi Hougen is like, I'm fairly certain the head of the Oda clan wasn't like this. And we're like, it's because she's from the Guda Guda timeline. And Jason is like, what? What are you talking about, cheese? Great moments, by the way. Like I said, balancing that serious and silly stuff. But, like, it goes deep into, like, weird horror story stuff, very, very classic Japanese ghost stories. And it's not... Ghost stories aren't supposed to have logical explanations. They're just supposed to be, like, I mean, if you want me to get, like, real meta, I feel like a lot of, like, ghost stories in Japanese, like, Onryo, Angry Ghosts and stuff is, like, writers and or the people in question experiencing some of these moments are trying to, like, experience emotional catharsis and, like, trying to, like, rationalize and come to terms with the fact that, like, life sucks and is weird and a whole shitload of people can, like, die with their lives unfulfilled and shit. Not by the way that the Tyra were great. I feel like FGO, brushes over the fact that, like, literally Ushi and her mother were, like, held hostage by that Tyra lord, was it Kiyomori? And shit like that. And, like, the fact that the reason why the Genji, like, group founded was the Tyra kicked all of their political rivals out of the court system and exiled them from the capital to, like, lock in power for their family, and the Minamoto all got together with all the other Tyra's rivals and were like, yeah, that sucks. Fuck them. We're gonna go stab them. Like, it's a very bloody, very real conflict where there's no good people and it all sucks. And that's, I think, where a lot of these ghost story type shit comes from, is just humans trying to, like, come to terms with how freaky and weird and sometimes sad the world is. And it's not really built on logic. It's built on, like, you know, being like, damn, what happened to all those unresolved feelings, you know? That's Kagekiyo. I actually like the moments at the end with Kagekiyo and Yoshitsune and shit. They do the typical FGO cop-out, which is, well, now that we're linked, we'll probably be summoned together. You should watch out for that. That does probably pretty clearly explain out that if you have a Kagekiyo and you get to those higher ascensions, and Kagekiyo seems less Kagekiyo and more Yoshitsune, yes, that is canonically Yoshitsune coming through. That does not necessarily mean there will never be a pure Yoshitsune variant. It just means that, like, FGO gave themselves an out where if Kagekiyo, who obviously was probably, like, intended for either Little Big Tengu right away or was always intended for, like, LOSTBELT 5.5, and then they came up with another event to, like, make her playable, shit like that. They've got an open end where if they don't come back. I also feel like, it hasn't happened yet, but I feel like the ending when you actually finally get Kiichi Hougen is, like, them going straight to setting up for Summer Kiichi, because she's like, I'm an assassin. I would have preferred to be summoned as a Lancer, because, you know, she's got her spear and some other stuff, and I'm like, that... And she was earlier talking about in her Ascensions where she's like, oh, I didn't change clothes? I was told I would be changing clothes. I won't do that? Why? You just don't express. So, like, I feel like they're setting up for, like, bringing her back as a summer character later. To actually, like, you know, get payoff on that joke. I mean, I think you could get some. It's just that they haven't brought her back. That's one of those weird things that I did talk about in the Wanted with Kagekiyo. Like, a lot of times, like, extra characterization and stuff is really dependent on characters coming back and, like, being used again. And interestingly enough, after Little Big Tengu and after 5.5, Kagekiyo hasn't shown up as, like, a bonus servant or anything yet, as far as I could tell. Maybe in some of the more recent stuff in JP, but so far nothing. And there wasn't, like, a 5.5, like, Road to 7 thing, because they didn't do side chapters and stuff very well, so I feel like there is still some writing opportunities. They just haven't had time to flex. I think there's a lot of stuff they could do with that in future. They just haven't yet, because I feel like their schedule is very busy for lots of things we've talked about already. It is always kind of sad when a servant just kind of comes out and doesn't get follow-up, and we can just hope for them to get follow-up, but a lot lately, I feel like some seasonal and side events and other story stuff has been kind of falling through the cracks so that they continue to write these giant fucking doorstopper story chapters. I don't know. Depending on how LOSTBELT 7 goes, I hope that we can kind of relax and focus more on, like, main interlude shit, because, like, you know, we all you need is, like, the equivalent of, like, put Yoshitsune in a Christmas event like we did with Arjuna Alter in the Carnimus. You know, make her a bonus servant in a summer to go with, like, a summer Kiichi Hougen or something. Or do just a main interlude type event like a, like, OQ, like, Imaginary Scramble. I really struggled with that fucking name. Do a collab with you know, Samurai Remnant and stuff like that. Like, the problem with putting her in a Guda Guda, which is also a good place to put her, is there's like 9 million Guda Guda characters. But certainly, I feel like if you made her a front and center character in a Guda Guda event, you know, kind of like how our most recent Guda, the Himiko one went, where we had a lot of extras with us and stuff. You know, you could at least like work on development for Kagekiyo either as Kagekiyo or as Yoshitsune, and you could bring up a new Yoshitsune. I would not want them to bring a new Yoshitsune to a, well, not necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't mind a just, you know, Saber Yoshitsune type character, Overseer Yoshitsune or whatever, because I'm sure they've got so much more bullshit they can play with. But, like, there's so much of a backlog on Guda, guys. There's so much Guda backlog. I don't really want them to, like, keep adding to that. But that's a different discussion. Anyway, overall, though, I like the beats of Little Big Tengu. Like I said, it's, you know, fairly unserious, but also has some serious moments. I feel like the emotional beats at the end hit with all the characters. Like, there's just a lot of sadness going on. Like, Kiichi Hougen has some tragedy with, like, her distance from humanity and trying to, like, just deprogram Ushiwakamaru, and it just doesn't fucking work. You know, obviously there's that sad moment at the residence where, you know, I'm pretty sure that's because that was Yoshitsune's rank was the thing. For instance, I'm trying to think of some other examples. I mean, like, obviously Yoritomo took the title of Shogun afterward. There's Yoshitsune actually won a lot of titles, some of which were granted by the Emperor, but were blocked by Yoritomo. So there's some vibe there with some titles. Overseer is probably a translation of a Japanese term. Cause let me actually do some etymology here. Yes, so the term shogun, for instance, is actually an abbreviation. It's for Sei Taishogun, which means basically, you know, commander-in-chief. Army command shogun can mean just army commander. So like being called shogun should possibly be translated as like commander. I think, yeah, so overseer is related to Yoshitsune's stuff. Ah, okay. Sorry, Lucky just posted something in our secret tabletop cabal where he says he has a wedding to go to. That may also be why Lucky's not here. Shit happens, y'all. Life comes at you fast. You gotta be ready. But yeah, so I like how it plays out. And it kind of like, I think that as a concept, Kagekiyo really is kind of a tragic character because it's like Kagekiyo's just all the angriest Taira who keep coming back trying to stab Yoritomo, and it just doesn't work because we know it doesn't work in history. They're just doomed by history to fail. I died. Like, got all the really good samurai drama plus Japanese ghost story shit that I personally love, and I hope you also love, chat. I fucking, give me that shit. And they do put kind of a personal spin, you know, making it because I believe I don't think we've got an exact age for Kagekiyo, the real life historical figure, but he is apparently involved with some court stuff like in the 1150s. The Genpei War ends in like the 1180s, so like he probably would have been like a you know 50 or 60-year-old dude or even older when he starved himself to death in 96, I think. It's all in the one. You can go double check my dates. I don't have my notes in front of me, okay? But, like, it totally would have been, because Yoshitsune did die young, it totally would have been possible for the real historical, like, Kagekiyo to have met a young Ushiwaka in that hostage period and, like, seen them come up and then be like, ah, shit, fuck, we're gonna fight. Like, drama shit. I mean, I think that characters who have, like, possession or characters in the back of their head and stuff, there is a lot of potential in that dynamic. Obviously, that can be complex to write because you have to present that to the audience, which, considering FGO is based in text boxes, can be hard. But no, that's actually can be like a really interesting thing to pull off. It's a little harder than medium, but that could be something that we could reference later. And it happens a lot with It literally happened to Kagekyo both times they have shown up in the story. That is how we defeated them in Heian-kyo, and it comes back in Little Big Tengu. So, like, I think there's something interesting there if we could have that kind of interaction when it is not literally always just the final boss fight of Kagekyo, right? Like, when it's not just like, no, you're fighting from the inside. Obviously, with Avengers, that's harder, but we still got some comedic Avenger moments. Overall, I want to talk about the actual meat of this event. Like, obviously, a lot of this is tied up in the dramatic story arc at the end and kind of the setup for Kiichi Hougen as a character, because she's a welfare and setting up Kagekyo and Yoshitsune for being summonable. But there's a lot of stuff that happens in the middle. The way the hammer is used is very funny. Bigs to smalls, smalls to bigs. There's just so much they do with that that's just so fucking funny. Specifically going Medusiana, Lancer Medusa to Gorgon. And actually, talking about Avengers, they got a lot of funny Avenger moments in here. Like, it's the same with... It was technically her Berserker mode, but, like, Jolter and John Santa alter and back and forth and stuff. You know, shit like that. You know, that's great. Somebody already brought up in chat. Whatchamacallit? The thing with the Dioscuri where they're like, ah ha ha ha, no, we won't revert in age. We will become more divine, and then they just go too far. I'm a little sad we didn't get a little more. Also, again, more talking about Avenger stuff. Pollux is like, I'm sorry, my brother. He's being weird. I'm sorry, I can't. Ah ha 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 ha. And fucking Nobu and Nobukatsu is there, of course. Ugh. It's the comedy beats are really good, but with some decent stuff in there. I personally, I know she is not everybody's favorite character. I personally like Maeve in this event, where she kind of like, it's one of those moments where they talk, like, she kind of plays into her, alpha bitch queenly self, but like usually tries to be in a positive way. Like, she still doesn't get along with Ushi very well, but they come to a certain amount of respect, and like, Maeve's definitely that woman, that girl who's like game respect game. When she gets to see Yoshitsune's body, she's like, okay, I'm a warrior queen. You've got a warrior bod. You're going great, okay? Slay girlfriend, that kind of shit. That's very funny. And then Kiichi Hougen being like, your friend's great. I'm so glad I told you. And then she's like, whoa, hold on. We are in no way friends. Fuck you, actually. But, like, Maeve ping-ponging from, her usual cutting, bitchy self to just the plush of Ku Alter just being like, shut the fuck up, Maeve. And she's like, oh my gosh, Ku, you're so cold to me. Ah. Like, some of you know that person in real life. Don't lie to me. Some of you do. You've met that person who is, like, super ultra frosty and cutting to everybody, but they, like, get a little bit of it back, and they're just, like, big, hard eyes motherfucker, gaga uwu. They get all fluttery about it. Like, that's kind of the funny thing about Maeve, is that, like, yes, she's, like, really, really petty and simple and, like, bitchy, but, like, she gets as good as she gives a lot of the time, basically. Like, she gets Ku pushed back, or she gets fucking flustered by, like, Scotty and stuff like that. Like, yeah. I mean, just having catty characters to rate can be fun. You gotta be careful about overdoing it. And I also feel like some of it is just the audiences are different. I don't know, maybe if it's because a lot of people did know, like, a Maeve type in real life. I still remember... I don't want to call it any names because it's been years and I don't, like, want to be mean to you guys. But I remember some of y'all, speaking broadly about the community, like, when Summer 3 first dropped, some of y'all were really incensed at Maeve. And I also saw this other places online for, like, rigging a fucking beach beauty contest, and it's like, no, I love that personally because that's compared to the context of what's going on in the event where like fucking Summer BB is plugged into fucking Nyarlathotep and reversing time shit. Like the fact that she keeps beating us with her photo book at the fucking Servafez and like rigs a beach beauty contest, like that's so petty and pointless and small stakes, and it's so absolutely Maeve to be like all about that. But there were some people who were like, oh my god, Maeve is the worst, why is she like this? Like, y'all, it's a fucking beach beauty contest. One, yes, Maeve is all about that, but also like it's not really that big of a deal. You know, it's fun. I have fun with Maeve, not just because she's voiced by Anaya Sakura. Happy birthday, by the way. But like, I like it. I get that some people don't. I don't know if it's because it like reminds them too much of like toxic people in their real life that they knew that they don't want to be near, or just she's not, you know, their cup of tea. Yeah, she's coming back in Grail Life. She's gonna get a costume. That's fun. I'm gonna have fun there. Been flexing my Maeve a lot in this event. But yeah, I like her presence in the event as like she is the one other tall person besides Kiichi Hougen who is canonically there to help you. I do think that, like, mechanics-wise, that leads to a couple of awkward fights when she's your only support servant, but it works out okay. The fucking Greek chorus of the minis, you know, Lil Ku, Lil Benkei, Lil Ushi, you know, Lil Jason. It's great. Honestly, as much of a wheezy little bitch boy as he is in Okeanos, which, keep in mind, by the way, it's probably been a long time for you, some of you, for Okeanos. Jason was not a cool dude, and I don't think he was super popular out of Okeanos because he was a real scumbag there. And still a big fan of Herc. That continued. But, like, as a summonable character and working him into shit like Lost Belt 5 and stuff like this, they've managed to, like, contextualize his weaseliness. Like, when you're fighting Jason, he's a motherfucker because he's like so squirrely and stuff. I mean, pathetic is right. Selfish, no. That's Jason's like hubristic flaw in the actual historical text is like he thinks that he's the shining hero and that he can do no wrong because everything is handed to him, and he doesn't realize that, like, his actions can have consequences. Because, like, he does kind of get handed everything in the story. In terms of, like, servant power scaling and stuff, Jason should probably not be as much of a schmuck as he seems. Like, obviously, there's no, like, shooting beams or anything, but he's, like, a pretty tough, strong dude in the actual Argonautica and stuff. Well, yeah, that's kind of how FGO rolls with it, is, like, he's concerned because, and this is a thing that, like, he doesn't always have. In his actual myths, in the Argonautica, Jason has a huge crew of all the coolest motherfuckers he could find in Greece. Heracles is on that crew. The Dioscuri are on that crew. Atalante's on that crew sometimes. Not Achilles and Odysseus, but, like, their dads are part of the crew. Like, there are some solid-ass dudes who are there, and the crew of the Argonaut was, like, dozens of those guys. And Jason was their leader, their coordinator, right? You know, So, like, putting him in FGO context where they can't put that many characters on screen, I think it does make a little bit of sense for him to be like, shit, what the fuck are we gonna do? Also, he is post-Medea, though, so he's, like, terrified of Medea because he realizes that if he fucks with her, she's gonna, like, fuck his shit up. I think the only thing that I don't like about Jason is he's still a little too selfish and practical. The thing with Jason as a character is he gets all of those things handed to him because Hera really likes him, because at the start of his, like, hero arc, he helps an old woman cross a river, and that old woman is Hera in disguise. I don't feel like FGO's Jason would help a little old lady cross the street, but again, maybe that's because this Jason is kind of like a lot of servants. He's the timeline kludge. He is all the Jasons all the way through his character arc. He is the most Jason-y Jason that ever Jasoned. So, like, That's a little weird and awkward. I could see that, I guess. But like, as like the snarky support guy who's just like, I don't want to be a fucking part of this. You kidding me? You think I can get between like Skahak and Kiichi Hougen and shit like that? What the fuck do you want me to do? I am not qualified for this. Like, that works. And putting him as part of an ensemble is good. I liked how he kind of formed a comedic duo with Benkei. Like, Benkei is the straight man. Little Benkei. Like, lots of really good character stuff. Tiny Ushi is a horrible gremlin, and I love it. Like, they found a way to do that gremlin energy, and also, obviously, being the shopkeeper. Jaime gets to fucking flex all the voice lines. Yeah, not in this event. It's a little sad, but I think it will work out. We'll probably you'll probably see more Castor and Pollux separately, like when we get to Valentine's and stuff, because they each have their own scene, and I assume it's split up per twin, basically. But yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff going on here. But I like all the chorus of the smalls and stuff. Obviously, I think Kiichi Hougen's got a really good introduction. You know, she's a good character. She's a good assassin. We'll get into that. She's pretty straightforward, but does her work. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, overall, pretty solid stuff there. I really like this event. I always wish for more events like this, like just little semi-self-contained with some story callbacks and shit, you know, that like work out all the stuff and introduce us to some new characters. Get to show some new characters some light, and like they really went to town with the embiggening and the smallification stuff, and like making that work and be funny. I don't feel like missions were really a drag. Like, overall, it's pretty good. I'm gonna wrap up the missions on this and, you know, clock it in and go home. I hope that I can hit. Yeah, I will say the like, oh, it was an illusion. You're in Kamakura at all. That probably works better if you were at least passingly familiar with like the place names they mentioned. That one kind of went, even as a huge weeb, that went over my head a little. I mean, the areas form a 5-pointed star, so that's like very, very, very on Myoji there. You know, that's, you know, the seal of Ame no Seme is the 5-pointed stars. That one was a little bit like they tried a little too hard to make that twist. I haven't gone to the CQ yet because I need to clear more missions. I'll see how hard it is. I know some people are having a tough time with it. I don't usually do CQs, but I can at least see what this one is about. But yeah, overall, I think it's a good event. So, we're about an hour 20. I'm going to take another break. This time I'm going to go take a bio break. When we come back, I will do Welfare Corner, because it's been a long time since we did that. It's been like a month. I feel like it's been longer. Do we remember to do Welfare Corner for Karna? I think we might have. I don't remember, though. Time is a blur. But we'll come back and do that, and also Fan Servant Friday, and then I'll probably, you know, just take some discussion questions and prompts from chat for a little bit. I don't want to go too long, because like I said, my throat dry up a little. Like, I'm still feeling a little the scratchiness. I'm not, like, losing my voice yet, but I don't know how much longer I can talk continuously into the microphone by myself. But, you know, we'll get you a little bit of your fun parasocial times. I am now going to step away. Yes, everybody, hydration check. It's all fine. Okay. All right. Welfare corner. Welfare corner. I feel like I'm a little too dry to hit those notes. Not that I'm a great singer or anything. I'm not very practiced, but, you know, we got the stuff. Anjiba. Welfare Corner Tengu Edition. So, hey, guys, in case you don't know, it's been a long-ass time since our last assassin. Our last assassin was Summer Okita. So, now we've got a welfare to talk about. Kiichi Hougen, who we're talking about here with Welfare Corner. You can see my entire text bubble popped out there. She's pretty in the middle for HP and attack for 4-star assassins. She's kind of smack in the middle. She is quick arts buster. It's a little unusual for assassins. Though she does joke about preferring to be a lancer. Also, just, you know, peek behind the scenes there. I read that, I'm like, okay, I know I wrote that looking at something, but is that right? Is that correct? I'm fairly certain it is. Oh, great. Grand Order Wiki is down as I'm like, I have to double check. Yes, okay. I got a wiki to actually load. Yeah. So yeah, that's a deck that we normally associate with Lancers, funnily enough. But it works. Her hit counts are pretty normal. I just realized those aren't in my notes, but I believe her hit... lost my cursor for a second there. Her hit counts are pretty normal. Yeah, they're decent. Her 1 arts card is higher. It's 4 hits. Where her quick cards and Bear Busters are like 3. And she's got a pretty average NP gain, so that will probably be okay overall. So her NP, like it says in my notes here, is dirt simple, which honestly for a welfare, you know, for a gift servant. Sorry, sometimes my cursor just loses track of me. For a gift servant, fairly basic. Works, you know, you're just going to get her to NP5 and you're going to go home. It's an AoE quick. Its only other effect is it boosts her quick first with overcharge for the turn. So it's fairly direct. Honestly, I would say if you feel like she's not doing a whole lot of damage, I don't really have a lot of complaints there using her during the event. Though I'm not, like, doing super speed farming yet. I'm mostly just slamming it. Well, because you can't 3-turn a node when you are spawning 5 guys per wave thanks to extra spawn CEs. So I'm not really, like, trying to do high-speed low drags. But I think she hits okay, but some of that might be that you need to remember to, like, level up and proc her skills and, like, remember the fact that a lot of her work is in the quick cards, which is going to be lower damage anyway. But yeah, her NP, very simple. It's just quick AoE damage. It's like 7 hits. It boosts her quick first for the rest of the turn. So pretty simple stuff. Her first skill is a 2 hits, 3 turns evade, and a 20 to 30% quick up on self for 3 turns. Second skill is a targetable 10 to 20% NP battery and gives that ally 1 turn of Star Absorb. It's not a super huge Star Absorb buff. I believe it's like 100% to 200%, so it's like 1 to 2 times extra Star Absorb. But it's enough to, like, give you an edge. And targetable 20% are not bad. Her final skill is a Charisma variant, as you might expect. It gives all members of your team 10 to 20% attack up and also their NP gain up for 3 turns. Passives are Presence Concealment C for a little bit extra critical damage. Magic Resistance EX. This probably comes from her being so magical herself. Which means she's got a crazy good debuff resistance. And a Territory B, because she is a caster, kind of. She's an Onmyodi. But that means her 1 arts card will actually slap pretty good. Honestly, so funnily enough, in my notes you'll see this. Kiichi gives me vibes like an Assassin Ushi. Ironically, not the way Summer Ushi Assassin works, though they do have good synergy. Summer Ushi herself is more selfish. But, like, Kiichi Hougen feels like they tried to take classic Ushi's skill set with some of the advancements, obviously, they've done because Vanilla Ushi has a shitload of buffs because she was a launch servant who was very limited in her utility. But, like, other than the fact that her NP is AoE, she has a lot of, like, you know, fun team-wide stuff to work in to, like, coordinate the group and be really focused on quick. But yeah, she has a lot of synergy with your team, and means that she's a free NP5, so once you get those extra copies, she shouldn't be any slouch in the damage department for clearing waves. But she is much more firmly in quick than Gray's hybrid strats. Gray really is like, you can lean on quick or buster, with obviously your buster buffs being a little bit more impactful because of her NP. Unfortunately, Kiichi Hougen also serves as a reminder because her primary competition, I think, in the welfare slot is Summer Skahak, and she reminds us that Summer Skahak is a very lukewarm servant since all of her buffs are one turn, whereas Kiichi Hougen has multiple 3-turn buffs going on there. So, yeah. Honestly, since AoE assassins at the SSR level are all limited, trust me, I know, buddy, I still don't have one. Thanks, past me. I think Kiichi Hougen is a solid addition to the team if you don't happen to have one of those. If you do have an AoE SSR assassin, they probably have a lot more going on than Kiichi does, since she is kind of straightforward and simple. I think it's good to get her in there because, like, this really is the time period where they're overhauling quick a lot. We're not quite to the point where we're trying to, like, bring Buster back to the front. This is still in, like, the end of, like, man, quick sucks. We need to make that better. The quick welfare assassin who was pure quick was Summer Skahak, and like I said, she's a bad servant? Yeah, she feels bad to use. Like, on paper, a lot of her buffs are fun. She's got a freaking, you know, like, Pierce Invul. She's got a taunt and a damage cut. She's got a 3k heal if you want to level her, but, like, the only thing her NP does on Overcharge is increase the instant death chance. Like I said, all of her buffs, her taunt, her damage cut, whatever, are all, like, one turn. So, it just... She really doesn't do enough to actually, like, make it worth leveling those skills to the level where they feel like doing something. And, yeah, it's just, it's very sassy. Like, I think on her own, because Kiichi Hougen is so team-focused, like... She's probably not going to be your strongest hitter. Assassins have bad damage anyway. And she's not intended to be a huge damage dealer. But I think that because of the way she's built, you can slot her into a team a lot better. Like I said, she can act as your kind of budget support. Also, yeah, her instant death check is before damage anyway, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a big multi-hit quick AoE is, well, if you do hit the instant death, that means you don't get all that extra NP and star gen. Since she's an old welfare, Summer Skahak is probably never going to get an overhaul, like, in any meaningful way. But we'll see. I don't know. They really teased me with that one event they did that kind of compiled all the story of Halloweens together so they could actually dish out some like, old buffs and get you some extra, like, coins and shit for old Lizzes. I'm hoping maybe we can get some action on that for some old, like, Gouda Goudas and Christmases and Summers sometime, because there's some... Not every welfare servant is gonna be Shiki, who is, like, still, I think, evergreen, especially since Arts came back with Castoria. Like, Assassin Shiki is still just a really good unit, and if you missed her, I feel bad for you, because she's great if you just need to make stuff dead. But yeah, like, I don't think Kiichi Hougen's very flashy. If you have a limited AoE, even a 4-star assassin, or, God forbid, a 5-star, like... I don't think she's going to be flash there. Though, again, like I said, if you have Summer Ushi, which I do, I think Kiichi Hougen makes a great setup on her, like giving her, you know, the chance to do some, like, extra star absorption and give her the team-wide NP gain and, like, attack up is kind of fun. Because, like I said, actual Summer Ushi is very selfish. But, like, again, as a welfare unit, Kiichi is going to be some player's first ever AoE assassin. Like, that's just how it is, you know. So, because the rerun for, depending on when you started playing, the rerun for, like, case files hasn't happened yet, shit like that. So, like, She's good in that role. I think that once you get deeper into the game and if you actually get some units on banner, she's not going to be crazy. I don't mind personally, but yeah, there's some of you who are like, yeah. You can just use Kiichi as your in-class team support. She's got a charisma, she's got a targetable battery for 20%. You know, it's not like waiver tier, but she can do a little bit on a team-wide, and I think she has some funny stuff going on with her extras there. I would love to see them, like I said, I brought up earlier, I feel like they foreshadowed like a potential alt-class Kiichi. I think a Summer would be great, probably. But just in general, a Lancer Kiichi, possibly calling her Kurama Tengu, etc. Like, they could probably give her some real crazy shit to let her shine, but otherwise just like... farming with assassins is not always easy. Having more farmers is not going to hurt you, and Kiichi definitely feels like she's supposed to be the, like, Scotty compliant type one. Obviously, you can still just use, you know, AoE Berserkers, but Kiichi has, you know, like, quick boosts over a turn, over multiple turns. She quick boosts herself on her overcharge, so, like, if you max out her skills, you can get her, like, 40 or 50% or more on that NP quick up for a turn. The targetable Star Absorb in the battery kind of helps with some looping stuff, as just the NP gain. So, like, if you need to, like, chump clear waves, she's going to work. And otherwise, you're just going to have to deal with the fact that shit is sometimes weird. Yeah. That's what I got on that one. Okay. That means it's not in my show notes, but... Am I caught up? Yes. Sorry, the preview window for YouTube streaming is sometimes very weird. Like, it lags strangely when I'm not looking at it. Okay, so we've been live for an hour 37. That means it's time for our last scripted segment for today. Well, not really scripted, you know what I mean. I'm fucking winging it, but... It's time for our last scheduled segment, and then I'll probably, like I said, if you guys want to talk about anything, feel free to bring that up. But we have a Patreon poll. Every month we run polls for stuff on Patreon. You know, we do stuff for Fanservant Friday, where I get to, you know, submit my fun fanservant takes. We get to hit up blah, 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 blah. Fail Betrayal, a regular Yu-Gi-Oh! Stream. That one's also been picked. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen Tuesday. I think I might just be here doing Harpies alone. We'll see. I can suffer alone. Also, I won't suffer. I actually like Harpies as a playstyle and as an art style. They have a very distinct identity. Anyway. The guys are just concerned that all we get to do is, like, look at the art and go, yep, that's a bird woman. You'll see. I'm also probably going to test out putting... monthly bonus streams on that rotation as well for Patreon polls and for YouTube membership polls as well. Consider YouTube memberships. But one of them is, as I said, Fanservant Friday. We had a lot of fun stuff this month. So, the winner was picked, though, is Pecos Bill, who is another classic American United States tall tale, right up there with Paul Bunyan, Johnny Appleseed, shit like that. Pecos Bill is in a lot of the tall tales and folklore, specifically of Texas and the other southwestern area. So there's a lot of variations on this. But the things you need to know about Pecos Bill, writer obviously in this classification, is he's got a lot of fun stuff. He is kind of like supposed to be the archetypal Texas Lone Star cowboy type. He was raised by coyotes, is another big one. He eats dynamite. You know, there are several tales of him related to, like, who is Horseby. So he was, you know, he fell out into the Pecos River. That's why he's got his name. He was raised by a pack of coyotes. It said that dynamite's his favorite food. He can ride a horse, which has a lot of different names. Sometimes his horse is called Lightning. Sometimes his horse is called Widowmaker, like shit like that. Sometimes, according to some legends, he rode, a North American cougar instead of a horse. Yes, a mountain lion, not the other meaning of cougar. He has a famous girlfriend, Slewfoot Sue, who rode a giant catfish down the Rio Grande, but there's some other weird stuff going on there, but we may get into with his actual skills and so on. He may have shot some stars out of the sky, done some other fun stuff. He uses a rattlesnake as a lasso. Like, it's just all your favorite American tall tale bullshit. So it's a really great style. So, Pecos Bill is a writer. He is listed as chaotic good, because he's kind of a folk hero, but he does a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, rode a tornado. That may be coming later, so hold on to your horses for skills and noble phantasms. He is a writer. I've got him as chaotic good. The Southwest Texan mythology, everything's bigger in Texas, y'all. It's a thing. It's a real treat. So for stats, you've got Strength C. He is supposed to be a big man of legend, so, median strength. Endurance B. Agility A. He's real fast. Mana or MP E. Not really great. Luck A+. It's kind of a thing he does. And NP D. Fairly middling stuff there. So for class skills, I gave him Magic Resistance D. He is a very modern, weird, American legend of modern times, so his inherent magic resistance is not going to be very strong. Though we'll talk about some other stuff you can interpret that as. But he does have Riding EX because of the tornado incident. And also, Widowmaker is terrifying. The horse is sometimes called Texas's first serial killer. Like, the man rides things that don't make sense. So, Riding EX. Riding is the thing he does. For personal skills, Animal Communication B. You guys know this skill from Kentucky and from Summer Ushi, actually, but I think it makes a lot of sense for Pecos Bill. He was raised by coyotes. He, thought he was a coyote until his real-life brother found him and told him he was not a coyote. He was not a coyote. So, yeah, he can speak to animals. I have no idea why Animal Communication is a battery skill in FGO, but it is. That could be fun for, some farming and stuff. Though I think you might want to pick his more unique skills. Next skill is Painting the Desert, rated a C. It's an anecdote. If you don't know, the Painted Desert is a real-life desert in Arizona. Let me see if I can grab the Wikipedia. Even though Wikipedia is, way more annoying these days. No, I do not like the new Wikipedia format, but here's a link to the Painted Desert. It's a very interesting looking and very beautiful area. It's called that because it has very strong striations in the geographic strata, like color striations. So it's really interesting and unique. Nature is cool, man. But according to some legend, by the way, I'm gonna point out to you, there are some tones with Pecos Bill, which are very Texan and very Americana. I do not necessarily condone these. I merely report to you what the tall tales are reported to me. So Pecos Bill comes across some Native Americans in the desert performing a ritual and scares them off with a gun, causing the paint they had been putting on their bodies to fall off and paint the desert. Which, let's be real, very rude of you, Pecos Bill. The dudes are just getting painted up, okay? Or ladies, I don't know. It's not specified. Body art is okay. But yeah, he basically interrupts the ancient desert get-together, and they drop all their paints, and that paints the desert. Because, of course, Pecos Bill finds some guys minding their own business and has to interrupt them with a gun. Very Texas. So basically, I wrote this in as a kind of anti-territory creation skill. Basically, just by being here, he can disrupt other characters' ateliers and workshops and, temples, whatever. Fuck with their magecraft territory. And if he focuses on his weapon, he can destroy magecraft constructs, bounded fields, shit like that. If you were to turn this into an FGO skill, I would probably say, like, because it is supposed to be anti-territory creation, it could be actually, like, arts effectiveness down, but that seems kind of niche for a playable servant, so it might just be, like, either give him a buff so that on hit he strips one of your enemy's buffs, or, like, he actually just straight up, like, strips one of their buffs, and maybe does, like, NP gain down or NP charge down or something. The next skill, of course, is Shake the Rattlesnake. Yes, it rhymes. Everything rhymes in Texas. So, as I said, Pecos Bill's lasso is actually a fucking rattlesnake named Shake, who he wrestled as a child and wrang all its venom out. Skill seal might work. It's kind of weird when in Fluff it interacts with a passive skill, but there's a lot you could work with that, like a skill seal and like I like the idea of a buff removal. The old rattlesnake. So yeah, basically, as you might expect from a Texas cowboy archetype, Pecos Bill does a lot of crazy lassoing. He's reported to have wrestled and lassoed with a Bear Lake monster, and many other shenanigans. So probably not poison, because remember, he rang all the venom out. But like, he can use it to tie up his enemies. He can use it like a whip to actually attack. So that probably means, by the way, Pecos Bill would have some animations where he fucking whips some dudes with a snake. That sounds hilarious. Please show that. But yeah, definitely like I think like a stun, and then like maybe I would also say in lore it's supposed to increase his mobility because he can like lasso around to stuff, fucking Spider-Man style. So maybe like a quick up, or perhaps a buster up. Maybe Pecos Bill is a buster servant. I don't know. I feel like quick would work, though, because he's supposed to be fast. But yeah, definitely like a targetable stun. And then, final skill, Shooting Lone Star, EX. So, this is from one of the anecdotes of when he's trying to woo his girlfriend, Slewfoot Sue. To impress her, Pecos Bill shot every star out of the sky except one, which became the Lone Star of Texas, a symbol of Texan independence. Yeah. So, basically, fluff-wise, this gives him improbable aiming abilities like he was an archer, even though he's a writer for reasons. But also lets him achieve possible things similar to, like, Pioneer of the Stars. So you could probably cut the animal communication entirely from, like, his playable kit and just give him his battery on this, probably a pierce, and then just have him generate a fuck ton of stars. Literally. He shot all of the stars out of the sky, so they go in his pocket. Oh, you could also make it an anti-divine, yeah, like Pioneer stuff. That could also be good to give him a trait damage. I am kind of imagining him, though, as similar to Kiichi Hougen, like just a big wave clear boy. Everything's bigger in Texas, including your wave clears. Also, yes, absolutely, he has to have a classic Texan revolver, a big iron on his hip. By the way, I unironically fucking love Big Iron. It's an amazing song. Fallout New Vegas is a phenomenal game. I believe there were some rumors that there might actually be some sequel stuff in the works. Hopefully if they do that, they can license it separately from Bethesda so they can release it multi-platform, because... Anyway. Noble Phantasms. We got two, though. I'll start with technically the... it's probably one big gun. I don't actually... Let me double check. I don't think he's known for double wielding. Yeah, no, he's got to have one gun because his other hand is his snake lasso. That's got to be it. By the way, in the Walt Disney Melody time with him, Pecos Bill causes the Golden Memlar Hills incident by knocking the gold fillings out of a gang of cattle rustlers and scattering them to the wind. But yeah, so Noble Phantasms. Number one on the list, Widowmaker, Ride the Lightning. See what I did there? I did a joke there. C-rank Noble Phantasm. It's Pecos Bill's famous horse, usually called Widowmaker, sometimes called Lightning for his incredible speed. He is a Wild and untamed stallion. He's known far and wide for being the fastest and strongest horse, but for unseating and killing literally everybody who tried to ride him, hence the name. According to the legend, Pecos Bill chased down Widowmaker until he could jump on and spoke to him in the coyote language, saying they'd be partners, and allowing that means that Widowmaker is Pecos Bill's noble phantasm. Widowmaker is a crazy good horse. He's fast as lightning. He can jump as high as the moon. This is famously what happens to Slewfoot Sue. Bill tries to put her on Widowmaker, and Widowmaker's not having any of it, so he jumps all the way to the moon, and then she falls off and hits her head, possibly after hitting her bustle. At one point, I believe there's a myth here about the Grand Canyon, or it might be with the Rio Grande. Anyway, there's one where supposedly he and Widowmaker drink a river dry. He also may have caused the Rio Grande River by dragging a stick across the continent to make the fucking river. It's all this, Texas big man shit. Like I said, very similar in style to Paul Bunyan and John Henry, who we've previously featured on Fan 7 Friday. But so I make the joke about the cougar here, fights as fiercely as a cougar, can outrun storms, drink a river dry, comes with thundering of hooves, can kick and bucket enemies. So clearly Widowmaker must have been like a phantasmal species, like the last of his race kind of a thing. You could, just use it as like fundamentally not used in this work kind of a thing, or actually include him as a skill or whatever. But the big one is, you gotta do Ride the Whirlwind to the Tall Tales of Texas, a B-rank anti-country noble phantasm. So basically this is Pecos Bill, the phantasm, the spiritual representation of Texas, collected into one big bama jamma. So, in some legends, in many legends, he can lasso and ride a tornado. In others, he creates the Gulf of Mexico by lassoing a rain cloud and tugging it to Texas. He created the Rio Grande River by making a drinking trough for his horse. So he has the power to alter the weather, the world, and because everything is bigger in Texas, he can do it on a large scale. When invoked, he can, lasso up some storm clouds and make a huge storm with a deluge of rain and flooding rivers, and then he rides the tornado into his enemies, which detonates with a force like dynamite. So, it's a very big attack. It hits a lot of things everywhere, but its mystery is pretty low. Like, I'm gonna agree with y'all. You talk to some fucking old-ass heroic spirits, like Heracles and Gil, and even maybe, like, Arturia, being like, oh, yeah, he slammed a tornado into me. Cool. Great. Never seen that before. Like, the power scaling, like, Karna would be like, my eye laser destroys countries kind of a thing. Like, it's not going to have too big of an effect on older mysteries, but it's still going to be big and splashy and does a lot of damage. And, like, probably have a really cool animation, lasso up them storm clouds, push them all together, and then just, yeehaw! Ride a tornado into the enemy, make a huge explosion sound. Probably an AoE. Definitely have some kind of debuffs. Maybe quick res down if he's being quick, that kind of thing. Because it's tornado and rain and stuff, probably a lot of hits. Like, just scoop everything together and do big flashy. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Probably put some cows in the background if this is an actual servant. Put some cows or maybe Dorothy's house back there. That'd be very funny and cute, yeah. But yeah, that's what I got on Pecos Bill, the Lone Star of Texas. It was a fun one. I'm glad you guys voted for that. I got a little while to think of some stuff related to Lirv and Hearts. I will work on the thing. But yes, thank you so much for that part. Okay, all right. Well, we're almost at 9. Don't want to go too much longer. But now's probably a good time for me to take them some chat suggestions. I will also be YouTube, you okay? There we go. Sorry, I closed my pop-out chat because I'm just going to look at the window. If you are a patron on our Patreon, You can also drop me anything you want to, like, ask a question or, like, float a topic. I can talk about what I think about something in the Patreon chat as well. If you guys got anything you want to bring up. Any other... I usually, at the end of the live show anyway, you know, when we're recording live, because, by the way, we do record it kind of like this. Obviously, usually there's two of us, and there's some back and forth there. But usually this is how we record the show for patrons every week. The patrons get to just watch the whole thing. They don't usually get me to stream the show notes, but, you know, they're part of the cycle there, so... There's some fun there. But yeah, if you guys got anything you want to, any other topics you want to bring up, anything I missed you want to remind me of. Let me see. I think there was a store entry for Samurai Remnant or whatever it's called. Remnant Samurai? Lost Samurai? I can't remember the name right now. I'll remember it like a couple months when we start getting some news. But I think there was actually like a store posting for that, like on a digital store. So, kind of, I believe if I remember rightly, that description makes it sound like it is actually going to lean towards, well, you'll have a lot of VOD to catch up on there, Alessandro, because we're winding down, I think. But if you got anything you want to bring up, now's a good time. I think that store listing did suggest that the game might be a little more Muso than people were thinking. I'm still kind of hoping for, I'm still hoping for more of a Neo 2 angle, but I think a lot of people thought correctly that it probably would be more Muso-oriented. It still feels a little weird considering that, like, Extella exists, and Nasu said there were plans for an Extella 2? Like, I feel like it was said... I mean, that's been fucking years since that would have been said. Like, FGO's in its 8th year now, so, like, it's been a long fucking time. Coming up on the 8th anniversary. Like, I don't know. So we did talk about this earlier, but that's a good discussion question. No, I don't think there will be much of a dead week. We might have a couple of weeks down, but I think because Grail Fronts are actually pretty low impact, we will probably go into Grail Front right after Little Big Tengu, because that would line up, as we discussed earlier, with me doing some fucking calendar math. Sorry, YouTube was like, no data for a second, freaking me out. That would mean that we'd be in a very good place for our upcoming Valentine's event to, you know, actually, like, have that all line up, because that would be a very good way to handle February. Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing Guy Fawkes. There's a lot of weird mythology stuff out there. Pecos Bay will be very funny as well. There's a lot going on there that FGO doesn't always get into, but I always feel inspired by just how fucking crazy and sideways FGO gets sometimes. But yeah, that's a good thought, Carlos. Maybe they did decide to turn Extella 2 into something else. Like, obviously, a lot of future and past plot points, like, obviously, Safar and stuff came up in, like, Lost Belt 5 and some other elements. By the way, if I pause, it's probably because you guys are typing in chat and I'm fucking reading. I have a hard time speaking coherently and reading at the same time because my language centers are trying to do the two things at once. But, like, that part came up. Obviously, Charlemagne's going to come up in FGO and Trom. That's his, you know, debut banner and stuff. But, yeah, I don't know if maybe, because I feel like obviously Extella Link it was only meant to be a link to a sequel, so there's a lot of unresolved shit there. But maybe they brought it into something else or changed it up. Like, honestly, the APOC MMO, because if you don't know, we've talked about this before, but Fate Apocrypha was originally going to be an MMO project back in the day. Like, eventually that became the light novel, manga, anime, Fate Apocrypha. But also, I feel like some of the game design elements from that ended up in FGO. Not quite in the same sense, because the MMO was intended to have, like, persistent world stuff and actually have, like, the factions from APOC that, you know, could be, like, the two sides you could pick as players and shit like that. So, a lot of the plot stuff ended up in there, but I think a lot of their ideas on, like, storytelling to groups and go through there. Yes, no. The reason why some servants are like Benkei has always been like, man, he got real nerfed because like that same guy, as he was originally sketched out to appear in Apocrypha, totally would have been like a raid boss, like because he has a lot of weird, freaky mechanics that should be a huge pain in the ass for you to worry. And not just in like he draws circles on the ground, though I pools of orange juice I know are things to worry about, but also like he has freaky, weird situational debuffs that you would probably have to like break some weird way. Or maybe fight him in multiple phases, you know. It's just, he's a weird guy. Kentoki was also originally an APOC character, and I think they just, they cut him because once they made it into a more linear storyline. Sorry, now you just give me, like, I'm just imagining, like, the Benkei in Final Fantasy XIV now as, like, a high-level raid, and just his Ard Hat NP is just he keeps summoning those dudes to throw at you, and you gotta dodge them, and if they get you, you get fucking dragged out of the arena to instant death unless, you know, like, a party member rescues you or something, and I'm just like, the positionals, I haven't even done, like, any of the really freaky 14 content either, but I'm like, I know how this works. God, no, don't, It's like Greg, but a million times worse. If you don't get that joke, please watch our Final Fantasy XIV streams. But yeah, like, when they decided to go linear with APOC, Kentoki was thought to be too much of a good boy to go with all of the politicking bullshit on, like, the red and black teams, so they cut him. But, like, that's why I think a lot of characters who weren't utilized, you know, David and the Ark of the Covenant and shit like that, they ended up in FGO because I think they like wanted to bring that multiplayer experience, but they turned it into a PvE, you know, single player gacha game with a lot of community stuff, which is very interesting. But yes, 2 questions people in chat about, like, do you think there'll be a dead week? No, I don't think there'll be a dead week. I think we will probably move right into Grailfront, which will be kind of fun. And then we can shimmy sham on to Valentine's event. That is... What is our Valentine's this year? It's, Karen, right? Yeah. Oh, gosh, that's gonna be a weird one in a couple of weeks, guys. Yeah, so it's Karen. I don't really remember much about how that event was pitched setup-wise. That'll be fun, at least. I'm not real big on rolling for Karen, but I like some of her appearances over the years and stuff. So that should be fun story-wise to get into. Let me actually go ahead, since, you know, it is our last show of the month. I'm gonna see if I can grab an event list and check in. And then I think I'm gonna fucking, after that, go, because remember I talked about my voice getting out of there a little? I've been going for 2 hours basically doing nothing but talking to you. And my bottle of water is, like, very nearly empty. I'm going to take a swig, and it'll probably be gone. So as much as I would love to faff around for 3 or 4 hours, that's a lot harder to do with only one of us. But let me grab the event table and see what you guys can probably expect in February. Because obviously, with the CE event already announced, the CE banner, and Little Big Tengu not ending until, whatchamacallit? The 2nd. Which basically, by the way, some people brought that up, but we haven't made a big deal out of it. But Little Big Tengu is running basically for the exact amount of time it would have ran in JP. It's very funny. But, so, February's events should be... Holy Grail Front should start literally right away after that. And technically, if the timing on JP is the same, it will actually run for... It'll be possible to complete it over the course of 2 weeks. And will actually, like, still technically be available when the 2021, which will now be our 2023, thank you, time zones, Valentine's launches. Let me scroll over that. Let's see. There's some very fun CEs that are cool. There's the banners, obviously. That's going to be a fucking nightmare with the pity system. There's going to be 5 billion banners, but people will like that. We're going to get the Kid Gil rank up if we didn't get that already. Is this damage chart correct? The literal only damage up servants are Karen and Angra, or is that just the Grand Order Wiki being truncated? That's hilarious if true. But there will be a rerun banner for, say, Shonagon and those CEs. That'll happen there as well. There's also what was the Winter Caravan campaign. We've already kind of seen that, right? Like with them doing the little, social media campaign. Expect some more of that, probably. Some more social media stuff tucked in. But after Valentine's should be our equivalent of 23 million downloads. So there'll be a new round of, tickets and fun stuff to log in. There'll be some missions. There'll be some shit in Da Vinci's workshop. There'll be a summon banner for Arthur and some other stuff going on with the boys. Lots of CEs that are featured from him and some of the other guys as kind of a lead up to White Day. March should be pretty fun because that'll be CBC, the Slapstick Museum for the Amakusa costume and stuff. We may or may not get this class-based campaign. We'll see. But then there'll be Akihabara and some other stuff. I'm still very curious, though, come April time, how they're going to handle Grail Live and the fact that it's supposed to be Waltz in the Moonlight Lost Room collab. I really don't know why that really don't know how... I don't know how well that's going to go over or why that hasn't come out over here, but I think it probably could. But it might also just be like a music licensing thing, because we know that Papa Sony, who is, over Aniplex, over La Single and stuff, very stingy about their music rights. That's a big oof-loff. Well, we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up? We're wrapping up. Ugh. I'm starting to lose my ability to English. I'm glad it's lasted 2 hours. But yeah, so there you go. February will primarily be blocked up with Grail Live should happen basically right away when Little Big Tengu ends. Technically, Grail Front won't end, but in its last week, once all the maps are unlocked, you'll have freedom to go ahead and move on to Valentine's. And then after that, there should be 1 million downloads. And there'll be some social media stuff and some extra, vibes and stuff out there. I don't think any of that really needs to be compacted, just that they are going to have to actually hit those points pretty rapidly to actually get all our shit out of the way so we could do Lost Belt 6 on time. I'm excited to see some of my Valentines and shit as well. But yeah, if you guys don't have anything else you want to throw at me, you want to toss any topics to me, I have officially finished my second bottle of water this stream. We've been going for over 2 hours, which is pretty good for an Oops All Omega stream. And I don't really have any other talking points, so I'm good to go to wrap this up. Because my voice is starting to get a little husky. I mean, I could talk about swords for forever, but you'd have to, want me to focus that. Are we talking about sword typography? Are we talking about, mythological swords? Are we talking about different words for sword? I think their European cruciform sword has a lot of utility, as evidenced by the fact that there's about 9 million permutations on that thing that you can call it. But obviously, katanas are also really cool and optimized. Well, Loth, I can't do that because I'm not good at economics. I just know that iron and steel better than bronze most of the time. It's just that bronze is cheaper and easier to make because it requires much less advanced forge technology. You just have to basically have copper and tin and rub them together. Well, you made an attempt. Okay, let's do some outro stuff. I'm sure you guys are busy people. Some of you came in late. You want to catch the VOD. You know, we got other stuff going on. If you, like I said, as I always say, if you're watching the show live and you feel like you didn't get enough us, especially if you didn't get enough Lucky this week, because obviously it's just me here, go back and check out last week's content. Monday, God of War. Tuesday, Fail Portrayal. Wednesday, Final Fantasy XIV. And Thursday, there was a bonus stream. That bonus stream I talked about earlier, that was just me playing Hades. So you can check out any of that shit if you want some more content from us over there. Thank you so much for us turning out. Looks like our highest view count, our peak was 32. Thanks so much, guys. Not as much as our big, tentpole streams. It's still kind of a light news week going on there. There's not quite a lot going on. Next week, we should have a fucking big show for you, though, because Lost Belt 7 Part 2 will have actually dropped, probably with some summon banners, and there will be some things to discuss. We should also be, have announcements on Grailfront. Let me see. We'll be recording on the 3rd? Late on the 3rd, our time? So, the Valentine's stream may have also happened. I have to double-check the time zones. Don't worry me about it now. I'm trying to end the show. I'll come back to it. But, yeah, it should be a big news week next week. But, yeah, go back and check out the VOD. If you're watching this video on YouTube, be sure to give us a like if you liked it. It really helps spread those likes, feeds the algorithm, lets people know that this is a likable video. After we're done here, you can go ahead and leave comments in the comment section down below. Be sure to have a couple of, guys out here letting, Lucky know you missed him in the comments as well. You can also join our Discord. Link is in the video description and on our channel page. All kinds of fun stuff. If you're new here and haven't already, please subscribe to the channel to get more of this. You can also ring that bell for notifications to always know when we post a new video or when we stream. You can also join our channel memberships. Click the join button or the link in the description to get a channel membership, to get access to membership badges and emotes you can see displayed to your side here. It's very funny, chat. I mimed to my right side, which is where my monitor is that has, the OBS and the stream setup. But technically, I should be miming to my left because that's where the chat box is on your YouTube screen, is on the bottom left corner. It's very funny. Anyway, emotes are cool. And the more members we have overall, the more emotes we got. I believe Lucky has fixed his PC setup. I don't know if he got his new drawing tablet yet, though. I think he did. But if we have more members, we have more slots for emotes that we can add. So thank you for support. Also, like I said at the front of the show, you can support us on Patreon. You can get access to the audio version of Let's Talk FGO for as little as $1 a month, or roughly $10 dues a year. At higher levels, you get access to those topic polls, like Picking Fan Servant Friday and stuff like that, every month. And, like I said, higher level patrons do get access to Let's Talk FGO live recorded every week. You get to have this level of interaction with us, so that's pretty cool. And like I said, it really helps and supports us. I've talked about it. I'm actually, not only am I working out, a budget for me to live and eat and stuff, but also I am planning on upgrading my computer in the very near future. Also, I talked about this on Twitter, y'all. I need a new hoodie. I've got a comfy black hoodie. I've had it for years. It's falling apart. So I'm gonna need a new one of those and maybe some scarves because it keeps being cold. It was below 40 degrees again last night. Not below freezing, but still, it's cold. Yes, I'm aiming for a PC that can will have a GPU so that it can do rendering on stuff better for video production and streaming and video capturing, and also I can play games that are not potato games. Hopefully also with some more RAM, so Discord doesn't kill my computer, so I can talk to people and play games. Anyway, thank you for your support, everybody. This has been your special live Let's Talk FGO update thing for this week. Thanks to all of you who tuned in live. Thank you all of you who are watching after the live. I'll be seeing you guys next week, and keep your eyes and ears peeled for next week's other stream content as well. That's it for me, everybody. I say good night. Bye.